So today we are chatting about the scientific literacy in general. We are going to take a scientific literacy approach to the class, but this doesn't fulfill your scientific literacy general education because that requires a research paper, and I, as mostly freshmen, I don't really want you to do that yet. I think that's an unfair practice. So we're going to get the benefits of scientific literacy, hopefully, the understanding of it, without the messy work associated with the gen ed capability. Okay. During chat here, I don't need that actually. During the live stream, if you have a question, just drop it in chat. Don't worry about quote unquote interrupting me, because I'm reading chat as I'm talking, and I'll get to the question as soon as I find a break in what I'm saying. There is some audience interaction stuff at the beginning part of this, the material here, the scientific literacy part. So participation in chat would be lovely. And so as long as there are a few chatters back and forth, that's I think that's what makes the interaction more lively. But if you are just content with sitting back, relaxing, watching, or reading, put me on mute and read the captions up there. Again, the captions may be wrong. That's fine too. Okay. Hanif, welcome. I hope I'm saying that right. But welcome to the club. Let's talk about some scientific literacy, shall we? All right. Excuse you. There we go. So one of the things that we're going to do in this class, those 9 claims assignments that we talked about on Thursday, you're going to be your own little mythbuster. So I'm going to go out on a limb and say you've probably heard some of these claims that you'll be investigating. And you may believe them, or may have believed them. But they're all myths. They're all psychology myths. And we are going to take the tack of the Mythbusters, okay? And rest in peace, Grant Imahara. He died recently of a brain aneurysm. He was only 50, I think, somewhere around there. So pretty rough. The next video that I want to show you, we are gonna start out with a video. And a little bit of the discussion afterwards. So this gentleman here, his name is James Randi. He is this was from the 1990s. He is currently like 92 or something like that. So much older than he looks like here. His beard is also much longer and much more scraggly, as a 92-year-old beard would be. So in this clip, and it's only a clip from a documentary about James Randi, he is going to be talking about a particular mentalist named Uri Geller. Okay, and so I want you to pay attention as closely as possible. This isn't going to have captions, so you will need the audio in this one. I need to go back and add captions to this video because it's my video. So the captions up here are not going to pick it up. Jay Knight, welcome to the stream. Okay, So listen carefully to what
Magical
he's
thinking,
saying.
You know, is a slippery slope. Sometimes it's harmless enough, but other times it's quite dangerous. Personally, I'm opposed to that kind of fakery, so I have no reservations at all about exposing these people and their illusions for what they really are. I've investigated the claims of hundreds of psychics. People aren't always happy with my conclusions, but I do have my supporters. In 1986, I was honored with a MacArthur Award. Unfortunately, most of the prize money went into defending myself against a series of libel suits related to one of my earliest and most controversial investigations. The subject was Uri Geller, a young Israeli who claimed to have supernatural powers.
His remarkable affinity for metal and his psychic abilities are well documented all over the world.
In the early 1970s, Geller became a superstar, the most famous psychic in the world.
Okay, just a second, look at me. Visualize everything that you drew once more.
He claimed to read people's minds.
I'm gonna show what I got, and if I'm wrong, then I'm wrong, but it really came very strong in. It could be two mountains with a round thing on, or two people.
Can I show?
Yeah, I'd like to. Am I wrong?
You're right.
I'm right. Good. That's what I got. Oh, it's...
He claimed to bend keys with his mind.
I know you're going to think this is a setup, friends, and old Tom has never conned you on anything. This guy is bending this key by rubbing it. It was bent at about a 1 degree angle when you started out, and it's coming up on 45 degrees now and still moving.
You're thinking bend, is that what you're doing?
Yes, I'm saying bend.
You're saying bend,
Yes.
hard, soft?
No, I'm saying bend, 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 and sometimes I say bend, baby.
just
You know,
the way-
just
But
to-
Geller was best known
Ben
for
baby.
his way with spoons.
Hold the tip of the spoon very, very gently.
Okay.
What I'm doing is I'm trying to melt the metal down. Yes, you see, I feel it.
It's
Yes,
going.
It's
I
getting
can feel
loose.
it, yeah.
And there's no force at all in my hands. Yes, look what's
Like
happening.
this, there's no force at all.
Look, the whole, you see it's
The
becoming
whole
like
thing's
plastic.
ready to fall off.
It's, and touch it here where I'm stroking it. There is absolutely no...
That is eerie. I have a wisdom tooth.
If you can see, the metal is beginning to crack here.
It's breaking.
Yeah, you see
And
what's...
he's just
Look,
doing
it's becoming, it's like
Look,
putty
finish it.
wax. You see? Look. And keep stroking
look at
it
this.
here. Look, you see the... No, don't. You see the crack is becoming bigger.
Yep.
I melt the metal down, so
How?
I want it to bend. I just say bend.
Yeah, you melted it.
You see? Now wait a minute. Keep stroking your keys more. And people at home, want your watches to start working, or if there is a radio that is broken, want it to start working. Television broken, just wanted all those broken things. Now,
What Geller was saying, effectively, was that wanting things could make them so.
who started working?
I felt that claim had to be challenged. The media, even some scientists, were taking the Geller phenomena seriously. So I decided to show, for starters, that I could at least duplicate these effects using trickery. Now, a key can be displayed in such a way that it looks like it's bending. For example, just by stroking it, you'd swear that it's bending right up before your eyes. Magicians call this process ratcheting. But to do this, the key has to be bent in advance. The hard part, of course, is how to go about bending the key without letting them catch you. Now, there are several ways. I could, for example, take it and press the tip against the top of the table. That would do it. Or, in shifting my chair backwards or forwards, as I just did, I could have taken it and dropped it below the level of the table and pressed the tip on the chair I'm sitting on, which is exactly what I just did. Did I fool you? Mentalists have been duplicating hidden drawings for years. If Mr. Geller had chosen to use trickery, he could have used any of a number of techniques. One favorite involves turning your back and covering your eyes while the drawing is being made. Now, I've always wondered why you would cover your eyes while your back is turned. But melting metal is something else again. It's done something like this. And it gets soft. So I say to it, bend, 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 and it bends. Of course, it does take a little preparation. In fact, it takes a lot of preparation. Now, this isn't proof positive that other demonstrations aren't the result of supernatural power, but isn't this a more reasonable explanation? And then, of course, there was Mr. Geller's appearance on The Tonight Show. I got a call after they booked him to appear.
Would you welcome, please, Uri Geller.
Johnny had been a magician himself and was skeptical. I was asked to help prevent any trickery.
Nice to see you.
Thanks.
We have only met...
This scares me.
This scares you? Well, this is we just got some things together here. And
I told them to provide their own props and not to let Geller or his people anywhere near them.
Also, one of our staff members did some drawings which have been sealed in an envelope, and I'd like you to take your own pace when you feel like you want to try anything.
Right.
Do you want to try that particular experiment first?
When I'll feel free.
When
Okay?
you... Sure.
We'll start eliminating the ones that do not have the water.
All right, without touching them.
He is really suspicious, you know.
Yes.
I'm having a hard time with you.
Okay, I don't mean to be, Uri. I really
No,
don't.
just keep looking. Okay, let me rest a little, all right?
All right.
You know, I'm surprised because before this program, your producer came and he read me at least 40 questions you're going to ask me.
Well, I can ask you all kinds of questions if you'd like. If you'd like me to ask you questions.
I have to have time, and
More to come.
All right, we are back. Uri was telling me you don't feel what, strong tonight?
I don't
Is that
feel strong. It's not all tonight. Right now, I'm feeling being pressed, and then I can't.
Well, I'm not
can't
trying
do
to
it.
press you. I really not.
No, you're only telling me, well, will you try that or that or that?
Well, I thought that was the idea of. No, I'm not trying to put you down.
Much to my surprise, the Tonight Show episode didn't have much effect on Uri Geller's career. Neither did the book that I wrote about him. But eventually, his star faded. Why people are so drawn to the irrational is something that has always puzzled me. I want to be, if I can, as sure of the world, the real world around me, as is possible. Now, you can only attain that to a certain degree, but I want the greatest degree of control. I've never involved myself in narcotics of any kind. I don't smoke. I don't drink, because that can easily just fuzz the edges of my rationality, fuzz the edges of my reasoning powers, and I want to be as aware as I possibly can. That means giving up a lot of fantasies that might be comforting in some ways, but I'm willing to give that up in order to live in an actually real world, as close as I can get to it.
Alrighty. Thoughts on that? So, little mini discussion here. Welcome to the streamed Android. What do you think about it? What struck you about what James Randi was saying, the Santa Claus looking guy, versus what Uri Geller was saying? Anything else strike you about this? Let me know, because I've seen this a bunch of times, and the one thing that I will say is that I have never once been able to tell that James Randi bent that key by shifting in his chair. Not once. I've watched this dozens of times. Can't tell you when he does it. And so, yeah, he's a really good magician. Thoughts on this? Magical thinking, real world, psychics. Do you trust Uri Geller? mentalists in general, James Van Praagh, mediums, and we had a lot of TV shows in like the mid 2010s. No, the mid aughts or late thing. Where we had a lot of mediums on to James Van Praagh, the Long Island medium, John Edwards, those kinds of things. Yeah, I mean, Christian, he busted them and he wrote a book, but really didn't change much about Uri Geller's career. Maybe it had subtle influences, and Randy's not giving himself as much credit as he could. Gibson says that Uri has no powers. Yeah. Sophia, I don't know if he broke the magician's code. I don't think he was practicing magic at this point in his life. I'm not entirely sure, but I don't think he did. I'm pretty sure he would have gotten permission to do all of that stuff. By the way, he was a magician himself. He went by the name of the Amazing Randi. Okay. It's all illusions. Uri Geller's a fake. Really surprising seeing how easy to trick someone into thinking that something is real. Oh, yeah. People are gullible. Sam, people are super gullible, right? Seeing is believing. Okay, well, that's one of the ones we're going to talk about in a couple of weeks. Love it. Dalton believes Geller. Okay. All right. Fair. Dalton, I'd like to hear more about why you believe Geller. Why do you believe Geller? Considering that your peers here are saying the opposite. I'm curious where that belief comes from. If you want to expand on it. If you don't want to expand on it, that's fine too. Great. It's interesting to me that you gain a following. They will stick you with even when you what they believe is proven false. Yeah, I mean, it's how cults work, right? So, I mean, that's a central premise for a cult. So, definitely. And there were diehard fans of Uri Geller, too. There are diehard fans of mediums. James Van Praagh, John Edwards. And they can just be complete jerks to people. I know John Edwards has an anger management issue. So, any questions that you have regarding any of the information in the video? Anything you want to know more about regarding James Randi, Uri Geller, psychic psi phenomenon? I'm here to answer those as well. Brooklyn adds, Geller was attempting to alter the perception of reality to individuals pertaining to his magic, and Randi was able to prove that his acts were illusions, not real. That's a question. So Geller was presenting himself as a psychic, as some sort of mystic that had some power, mental power, some psychological power, well, psychic, not psychological, psychic power to be able to detect things that are outside the realm of normal physics. And he was making money on it. Okay, he was making money off of this claim. And James Randi, a magician who knows things like sleight of hand, illusion, the power of illusion, and how to do them, was upset that he was making money out of what he considered to be fooling people. Okay, because he was sincere. A magician is not sincere in the fact that they are doing that they're literally doing something like Harry Potter magic. They know they're not, but they're using attention and deception and distraction in an appropriate way. So that separates Uri Geller from magicians, right? So James Randi did not like how Uri Geller and a bunch of other self-proclaimed psychics were making money off the perceived gullibility of their targets, right? The non-discerning audience member. And so he went to go bust those bust those mysticism things, right? As pressuring him so his powers weren't working. Dalton says powers weren't working. Is that in... Oh, you believe Geller. Okay. They were pressuring him so his powers weren't working. Okay. Explain that a little more if you'd like. I'm gonna be Socratic with you on this one. Explain what you mean by that. So what would be the contradiction to they were pressuring him so his powers weren't working? Sophia, I think, has a good counterexample for you, Dalton, where she says that he can't do his tricks without preparation. Okay. Did Geller ever meet Randi? No. So did Randi ever confront him? No. It was all through written stuff. And you can and even though Johnny Carson, who was himself a magician, asked James Randi to prepare those things for his Tonight Show appearance, he was not in the building, right? Carson, mind over matter. I mean, and a lot of times, yeah, a lot of times our brain and our mind will produce a reality, and so is objective reality ever real? Well, probably not. Everyone is created equal. No one has power. So, Gibson, so on the flip side of that, the contrapositive of that is if we were all created equal and one person has powers, we all have powers. I would love powers. What are mediums? Oh, sorry. Mediums are people who claim to speak to spirits and ghosts and such. So they claim to be able to speak to dead people. And so they are a medium between the living world and the dead world. So they're like an in-betweener. They're an intermediary. And so that's why you refer. And you don't call them media, which is weird because media is the plural of medium, but pluralization for the role is mediums. No, Pete. No, Grant, Pete. No. It wasn't because he was jealous. It's because that he felt that Uri Geller was taking advantage of people. I mean, that's a good question, but no, I don't. He doesn't. In his other stuff, if you want to go look him up, he doesn't strike me as a very petty man. He's just trying to do what's right in his own way. DS Hill, how did some scientists believe that Yuri was actually doing this? I thought I heard Randi say that scientists were believing him. I don't think they said that. Other people believed them, but I don't think scientists did. I think scientists were trying to figure out what Uri Geller was doing from a scientific standpoint, and James Randi was over here like going like, bro, it's just magic. It's just deception, right? I think Randi was just mad that people were believing Geller when it's obviously... I don't know if mad is the right word, though. I understand your sentiment, Camilla, but I don't think mad is the right word. I think he wanted magic to be a profession that is just, right? People know what they're getting into when they see a magic show. They don't get that. They don't get to give that consent when they see somebody who considers themselves a mentalist or a psychic. Okay. Brooklyn, are there any allegations? The chat has changed Dalton's mind. Well done, chat. Well done. Give him an emote round of applause. All right. Brooklyn, are any allegations against mediums about their abilities not being real? Unfortunately for mediums, whether you believe in them or not, it falls under the idea that it's untestable. We'll talk more about untestability on Thursday when we talk about pseudoscience. I will mention it today when we get to the scientific method, but for the vast majority, for the most part, oh, my nose itches. GG chat. Yeah, very good. For the most part, yeah, it's just their claims are untestable. How do you know that they're talking to ghosts? There you go, Sam. I think over 3 emotes in a single message gets blocked. I think there was somebody else saying something. I think allegation's a fair word, Brooklyn. Yeah, deceiving people and making money off of it. Yeah, which is why people thought that some people thought that the quote that's attributed to P.T. Barnum, "There's a sucker born every day," is like not a great way to view humans, right? Why didn't he call himself a magician? Because then he couldn't claim that his power was real, Gibson. He wouldn't have been able to say that I have superpowers. I have psychic power. That's more grabbing. That's more captivating and compelling if it's real magic. And imagine if you met Harry Potter in real life and we're like, bro, I know you're Harry Potter, you're magic. I see the scar. It's amazing. Do something cool for me. Bring something out of that doesn't exist into existence. That would blow your socks off. So yeah, I think that's why he did it. Carson, I'm definitely on Randy's side, but I mean, Geller had to make money I mean, what's a better way to make a name for yourself than from nothing than claiming you're a psychic and doing simple magic? But see, that's not what he was doing. Why not be honest and make money from being a magician like he actually was? Yeah, I mean, those two, Carson and Gibson, have two competing arguments for the same thing. Why don't I just rob banks? I need to make money somehow. I should just rob banks, shoot them up, maybe kill some people. Fine. I just mean to make, what better way to make a name for myself? I'll call myself like the Joker or something. Bad morals. His mom raised him wrong. Oh boy. Let's not bring his mother into this. Camilla, I feel like there may be two, could have been different in that generation, a society than even now. Different. Yeah, definitely different. There was no internet. You couldn't verify his claims because there was no internet. You basically had to read newspapers, magazines, books, people trying to show him up. Okay, last comment, and then we're gonna move on here. I mean, there are a ton of scam artists that make tons of money out there. He's just one of them, I guess. Yep, he was one of them. He is dead. Okay, he is. Uri Geller is dead. James Randi is not. So who got the last laugh? All right. So the hat that I want you to wear in this class, and you've really expressed this. You've really expressed this in chat. So well done, everyone. Well done. That's the best discussion I have had ever on that video. Okay. So maybe there's something to be said about doing this through a live stream. So these are the 3 qualities that make up a great scientist. Great scientist or greatest scientist, right? So curious, that's a no-brainer, right? You want to know more about life, okay? Skeptical, you need good evidence. Evidence needs to be compelling, but it also needs to be from a good place. And we'll talk about where good evidence comes from when we talk about the principles of the scientific method. And the last one, which is super hard for scientists to actually do, is humble. And I think that's what makes James Randi more of a scientist than Uri Geller, if we were ever to call Uri Geller a scientist, is that James Randi was mostly humble about the whole affair. He had to use his MacArthur Prize Award to pay for lawyers to make sure that he wasn't going to get dinged for libel. Libel is like written slander, saying untrue things in written form. Slander is verbally saying them. And so that's the thinking cap that I want for this class. So it's very difficult for humans to be humble. I fully agree with that. I fully understand that. Sometimes it's hard for me to be humble, but humility is a central feature of being able to update your beliefs with new information that you didn't have before. And so I want this to be your thinking cap for this class. And the other thing, because we are talking about scientific literacy, critical thinking, obviously, a liberal arts college prides itself on teaching its students critical thinking among other skills. So if we're going to talk about one of the things that you get in a 101 class is the primer on critical thinking. And so critical thinking has a number of definitions. I sort of just like smush them all together in this definition here on the slide. So not blindly accepting arguments and conclusions. Okay, so that's step number one. Just because somebody said it doesn't make it true. But rather examining assumptions. So all theories are a series of assumptions that need to be evaluated. Okay. Appraising sources. Where does the information come from? Who said it? Why did they say it? Okay. Discerning biases. Not only discerning biases in your own mind. We are human. We are 100% full of biases. Okay. So discerning biases in your own mind, but also discerning the biases in other people's minds. Why and how are they saying this? And is it a result of their biases? Evaluating evidence, right? So that's being skeptical right here. And assessing conclusions, right? So again, if we're going to say not blindly accept blinding. Wow, that has been wrong for years now. It's blindly. Whoa. My bad. I have never once been told, Dr. Swan, that's wrong. Cool. Well done. This is going to be me right now. That's me. So that's critical thinking in a nutshell, in a very large, very small nutshell. Okay. Very large, very, very small. Yeah, that's what I said it. All right. Scientific literacy. So one of the things that you have to do before graduating is take a class in scientific literacy. A lot of those classes are going to be your intro chem or intro bio or whatever they are. If you're a psych major, you'll end up getting your scientific literacy capability in research methods. The idea here with scientific literacy is not just knowing facts, scientific facts. It's broader than that. It is knowing facts and understanding how they connect with the rest of the world, where they come from, and what what it means to be a scientific fact, quote unquote. We're going to go over facts in more detail in a couple of weeks. Facts versus alternative facts is how I have it on the course calendar. So from the National Academy of Sciences, so this is the US NAS, they define scientific literacy as the knowledge and understanding of scientific concepts and processes, right? Scientific facts. Required for personal decision-making, participation in civic and cultural affairs, and economic productivity. So it's not just I know things, I'm a know-it-all, and I'm going to use my knowledge to be a know-it-all. It's not just that. It's being able to use that information as a member of society, a functioning member of society, to make decisions based on science, which is going to be a bias of mine. I fully recognize this bias, that I believe that science is the best way to gather knowledge about the world. And so I think it's if it's the best way to know things, then I think that, according to the National Academy of Sciences, that it is something that will help you be a better member of society. No person is an island. We are all social beings, and so we need to interact with each other. And one of the best ways to interact with each other is what science says. Okay. So why is it important? Well, who does the science is one part of it. What do scientists do? So it's knowing facts and then also knowing how those facts came to be. So more audience participation coming up here, because we're going to do a couple of examples. Okay. And feel free to throw in whatever you think down in chat. Okay. So first one. Here's a picture. Okay. Here's a picture from Imager. I think it's Imager, right? On March 11th, 2011, there was a large nuclear disaster at the Fukushima Daiichi nuclear power plant in Japan. The image was posted on Imager, a photo sharing website, in July 2015. And you can see here that it says Fukushima nuclear flowers. Please Google Shaker Merple. Please Google David Kelly. Wow, what a username. Somebody really wants people to Google this person. And so it was, not much more to say. This is what happens when flowers get nuclear birth defects. And you can see here, first of all, what kind of flowers are they? Does this post, so my question to chat is, does this post provide strong evidence about the conditions near Fukushima Daiichi power plant? Explain your reasoning. Go. They are daisies. Yep, they are daisies. Pretty common flower, right? Sir, fail. This picture could be taken anywhere, like people who use herbicides. Yeah. Tanya says no, because it all shows flowers, daisies. They don't look right. It doesn't show any of the other conditions around the area. It's also true. What else? Jake says no, maybe the flower was made to be like that in a lab somewhere. Oof. Diabolical. Brooklyn says no, it does not. The picture was posted 4 years after the occurrence, and the email provided does not seem like it comes from reliables. Wait, you don't like? Please Google Shaker Amr. Please Google David Kelly. You don't? It's not reliable? Oh man. Welcome to the party, Peyton. No, it does not, because there's no data on the environmental conditions around Fukushima. Okay. Grace, no, there's no evidence that the picture was ever taken near the plant. Any flower could have a genetic defect. God, what did I not speak this morning? Defect. No source of credit or backing. Yes, indeed. No, the rest of the area isn't captured. Yeah, it would be like a good low angle if you got the the flowers and the plant in the background. No, the rest of the area isn't captured. The source is sus too. No, really? I wouldn't say it's strong evidence, but it does show an example if it's a real picture. It could always be edited. Yeah, Photoshop, man. 2015. Photoshop. This picture does not show that it's safe or not. I think the flowers are just built different. Like, it could be safe because it's cropped. That's fair. So, yeah, could be cropped, edited. So, I will say that just like humans and mammals and bugs and everything, flowers can duplicate like this, or I should say improperly separate. So it kind of looks like it was going to be two different flowers, but its growth was impacted some way. And this is a 100% naturally occurring genetic mutation among flowers. You will see lots of kinds of flowers. So these flowers are not necessarily viable, though. And it's sort of like it's a rare occurrence, is what I kind of want to say. Now, radiation can cause genetic mutations. So let's be clear about that. The point is, though, that many people pointed out in chat, is that this is such a narrow field of view, we actually don't have any information as to whether this is legitimate, if this is legitimately from the area around Fukushima. I have on good authority that this is a fake picture, and it is nowhere near Fukushima. It's not even from Japan. Fukushima is still fairly radioactive. You may not go near there, much like Chernobyl is in Ukraine. You can't live there for any extended period of time. So it's entirely possible that this is from a high radiation, like the mutation itself is from somewhere with high levels of radiation, but we have no idea if it's from Fukushima. So what are the things that I want you to know from this? One, always check your sources, right? If something seems too good to be true, who's saying it? Okay. Two, don't blindly accept arguments or conclusions, right? This is what happens when flowers get nuclear birth defects. It could be from anything, right? And three, try to get the whole picture, right? Don't accept a narrow worldview. Get the whole picture. Try to get as much information as possible. Well done, everyone. Chat was the expert here. Next one, I have a new example for you. This one's on climate change. We're not going to get political here, okay? We are going to talk about this from a scientific perspective. So, from a scientific perspective, what I'm talking about is anthropogenic climate change. That is human-caused climate change, okay? And one of the lines that you'll hear about climate change, specifically anthropogenic climate change, not naturally occurring changes in climate over time, but human-caused climate change, specifically due to the abundance of greenhouse gases in our atmosphere, is that not all scientists have a consensus, right? So only 97% of scientists agree. What does that mean? Is that uncertainty? What is the other 3% saying? And a good way to show this graphically or visually is that if you were to survey people about the consensus that climate change is occurring, the planet is warming. So this is just a survey asking regular Joes and Janes, what do you think the consensus is in the scientific community of anthropogenic climate change? And you can see here that this histogram of people, right? So this shows a distribution of responses, percentage of climate scientists agreeing on human-caused global warming. So if I were a surveyor from like Pew Research or something, I give you a call, because that's still really how they do surveys these days. Is I give you a call and I say, "Hey, would you like to do a survey?" You say yes, and I say, "Okay, where would you place the percentage of climate scientists agreeing on human-caused global warming? Would you place it at 0 to 5%, 5 to 10%, so on and so forth, right?" So these are the respondents' answers. So you choose there, right? You choose which one. And you can see here that the vast majority are somewhere between 30 and 70%. The vast majority of respondents on this survey are between 30 and 70%. So we'll just call it 50. We'll just call it 50. Scientists are split. But that's not actually the case, right? Because this is the reality. 97% consensus. And so the point I want to make about this example is that there is a danger in framing uncertainty in anything but issue complexity. So global warming or anthropogenic climate change is a complex issue. And you cannot boil it down. You cannot boil down the uncertainty to, well, not everyone agrees, so it's not a thing, right? So, and another way that I put it is this idea about 97% correct on your test. Wow, that 3% must mean that you're incredibly stupid. Nobody would say that to you. Nobody. And if somebody says that to you, well, you have my permission to give them a nice five finger salute to their face. All right. One more example. How are we doing on time? Ooh. One more example. Vaccines, do they cause autism? The answer is no. And any respectable doctor, virologist, epidemiologist, 100% would say no, they don't. And the only person who would say that doesn't have his medical license anymore because he falsified data. His name was Andrew Wakefield. You may be familiar with this whole thing. But there are a lot of people that buy into the fact that vaccines are not safe. They are not safe, nor are they effective. Okay? So, yeah, Pete. People actually think this. They shroud it a little bit more by saying how there are too many chemicals, among other things, in vaccines, or they're not effective, or natural immunity that is contracting a disease, and yeah. What is their reasoning? That vaccines aren't safe and not effective. They're chemicals that you are plugging into your body. Let me give you a completely out of the box This is from a group on Facebook called Things Anti-Vaxxers Say, TAVs. And this is from somebody who posted on Facebook. And you'll see this is extreme. That's why I'm leaving the extremity here for the last bit, okay? So a real person wrote this. Vaccines have at least 6,000 microunits of lead, not LEDs. LEAD. I'd rather eat a 9mm bullet. Good luck. I don't know how you're going to do that. The kids getting vaccinated probably would when they grow up and realize what you, parents, have done to them, plus aborted fetal cells. So go ahead, inject your children with dead babies. Dead babies what? And bullets so someone else can get rich. Smart! I love it. This is one of my favorite because of the end. Smart! Yeah, Gibson, some people say that the government puts things... Do you know COVID's caused by 5G, right? I say that completely with my tongue in my cheek. Okay. People say that put things in cause cancer and kill you later in life for population control. We're doing a bang-up job, he said sarcastically, about population control. You know, there are almost 8 billion people in this world. On this planet. 8 billion. That's an unfathomable number of people. We are not doing so great at population control, if that is the case. I mean, Sam, let's be a little bit nicer to them. I understand the sentiment, but we should be nicer. So she's got some brain cell loss. It is troubling, and there is more like it. So if you are active on Facebook, and you want to read more of these kinds of comments, then you want to go to Things Anti-Vaxxers Say. Yeah. Now, some people cannot be vaccinated. Some people cannot be vaccinated because they are allergic to some sort of ingredient. So a lot of people can't get vaccinated because they are allergic to eggs. Because eggs are sometimes used as an emulsifier for the rest of the ingredients. Some people are immunocompromised so much so that if you give them even just deactivated virus for something like polio or something, or measles or mumps, rubella, they can't even entertain the thing, right? And so the rest of us need to get vaccinated in order to create a herd immunity around those people, right? So that's my firm belief. That's my firm belief, and that is my belief. And if you have another belief about vaccines, I am more than happy to engage with you about it in a respectful way. I'd want to know mostly where your beliefs come from, and how they were formed, and things related to that. If anyone has, Anti-vaxxers refuse vaccines but ingest essential oils. Oh, you shouldn't ingest essential. Should you ingest essential oils? I was just reading on a package that you shouldn't put it on your skin directly. Ugh. Hey, listen, people have such a low level of scientific literacy, they believe something that they see from one bad study with no other research. I mean, that's what I'm trying to do, right? That's what this class is attempting to do. Break that. I mean, some people are allergic, but their parents... There are parents who don't vaccinate their kids just because they can't fathom the idea of having a child with autism. Yeah, there's a bit of ableism associated with that fear, for sure. Sam, I believe vaccines work because I'm not dead yet. Well, that there's a confound in that, but I'll grant you that phrase. Golden Duke, spiders deserve more love. Spiders? Why are we bringing spiders in this? Yeah, essential oils are poisonous. Yeah, that's what I thought. While it can be scary not knowing what is going to your body, all you got to do is ask the doctor and they explain it because they have the knowledge to do so, unlike the anti-vaxxers. Yeah, Camilla, I think that's well said. Unfortunately, anti-vaxxers would counter that. At least the ones that I've come across would counter that by saying the doctors are sheep, or they're in it for the money, or, you know, they're lying to you of some description. So as much as I want to say, yeah, just explain that to somebody, they're probably not gonna take that argument on its face. Well, I'm glad that you understand that, Pete. But some people don't, and we don't really know where autism comes from yet. It seems to be genetic, but we don't really know that. Gibson, adapt or die. Do you really need vaccines? Well, I would consider that an adaptation, wouldn't you? Sure, it's an artificial adaptation, but we got a big brain. We figured it out. It's not natural selection. It's artificial selection. Grant's new name is Pete. Yeah, I'm going to call him... I like Pete better than Grant. Eat or be eaten world. Okay. All right, moving on. So here's my point regarding scientific literacy. Okay. Information is incredibly diverse, and the internet is misinformation central. I'm sure you knew that, though. I am sure you knew that. Info can be misleading. Shocking. Okay. Uncertainty is not necessarily a lack of consensus. You know, when you see hurricane cones, when you see a hurricane track, and then it gets wider when we're projecting time, that's because as time progresses, we get more and more uncertain about the actual position of that hurricane. It doesn't mean that the hurricane's not there. It doesn't mean the hurricane won't be somewhere around there in 2 days. It just means that we don't know exactly where it's going to be. The consensus is, hey, there's a hurricane. You should probably prepare for lots of water, lots of rain, and lots of wind. It doesn't mean that the hurricane's not going to be there. It doesn't mean that scientists are like, nah, on Tuesday, I don't even know if a hurricane's going to be there. Like, it just doesn't make sense. No, there's 100% consensus about the hurricane existing, but the uncertainty is where it will actually be, right? So uncertainty is issue complexity, but it doesn't mean that there's no consensus, and vice versa. And there can be consensus, but it contrarian beliefs. Now, those contrarian beliefs could be rooted in something else. And so you just have to cut through all that BS.